How many of you have ever seen the series West Wing? Raise your hands. So if you haven't, it's a series that was created by Aaron Sorkin. It started in 1999. I think it went till about 2006. And it was all about the West Wing of the White House, featuring the president, Martin Sheen, and his sort of, senior staff. So I was watching it a few nights ago, and lo and behold, I heard what sounded like a Hasidic story. I mean, it wasn't exactly a Hasidic story. You'll see there's a priest in it instead of a rabbi. But it sounds like a Hasidic story in that it really touched me, and it went deep. So Leo, the White House chief of staff, was reaching out to Josh, the deputy chief of staff, in his hour of need, and he told him this story. There's this guy walking down the street, and he falls into a deep hole. The walls are so steep, he can't get out. A doctor passes by, and the guy shouts up, "Hey, you, can you help me out?" The doctor writes a prescription, throws it down into the hole, and moves on. Then a priest comes along. Here's where you know it's not a Hasidic story. And the guy shouts up, "Father, I'm down in this hole. Can you help me out?" The priest writes out a prayer, throws it down in the hole, and moves on. Then a friend walks by, and the guy shouts out, "Hey, Joe, it's me. Can you help me out?" And the friend jumps in the hole. Our guy says, "Are you stupid? Now we're both down here." The friend says, "Yeah, but I've been down here before, and I know the way out." Judaism is a tradition that keeps us company when we're in the hole, when we're in the pit. And it gives us a hand and even provides a ladder so that we can climb out. Last Saturday and Sunday, we were in the pit. It was Tisha B'Av, last Saturday night and Sunday. It was Tisha B'Av, and we were grieving for all the calamities, and there were many calamities that befell the Jewish people. And we were also grieving for the destruction of the two temples. For the temples, that place of intimacy with the divine, of offering up, the place where we could offer up whatever we had so we could approach God, so that we could live in proximity to the Shema, the divine presence, the feminine divine presence of God. But we come out of that hole and we move into 7 weeks of consolation. So there were 3 weeks of mourning, and now there are 7 weeks of consolation. It's a kind of 7 runged ladder so that we can climb out from the pit of grief. And when those 7 weeks are complete, where are we? We're right at the foot of Rosh Hashanah, the birthday of the world, the day of judgment. It's 49 days between the spiritual low point of our year and the newest of new beginnings. Judaism gifts us with consolation so that we can stand after these 7 weeks whole and strong enough to hold the fact that we're not perfect, that there is repair to do, strong enough to look at ourselves, to admit our flaws, to experience our brokenness, strong enough, that is, to climb out of the pit. Now, I don't know about you, but when I'm feeling my weakest, I can't really look at my flaws. I'm very defensive. If someone criticizes me or tries to give me what we call in Judaism tochacha, rebuke, I'm like, keep away. But I'm feeling strong, I can hold it. But I think we need that consolation. We need that strengthening. We need that shoring up to be able to hold that rebuke, right? Hold that other criticism and self-criticism. And it gets even deeper, because on the way, in this journey of consolation, there's a month of love, and it's called Elul. It's the month right before Rosh Hashanah. And the rabbis saw the letters of Elul, or ancient rabbis, as an acronym for I am my beloved's and my beloved is mine. Ani l'dodi v'dodi li. So this is the month where we are really held by God, almost like an embrace with God. And that's even a further kind of motivation to tshuva, a frame that really allows us to engage with tshuva, because it's not about becoming perfect. It's not about kind of sinfulness in the worst sense of the word, but it's about removing barriers between me and my beloved. Right? The things that are in the way between me and my beloved hurt me the most. Right? When I'm not sort of at my best, and there are sort of misdeeds that have hurt the people that I love around me, that really hurts. And it's wanting to get better, not because I want to be this better, perfect person, but because I want to be closer to them, because I don't want to hurt them. So this is the context, the frame for tshuva, it's love. Judaism overall, back to that moment of grief in the pit, is brilliant about grief, right? Judaism really knows how to extend the ladder, extend the hand to those who are in grief. So if you think about it, if you lose someone you love, right, the tradition has it that we're at our most raw grief, and of course we are humanly, until the moment of burial. And once our beloved is buried, we move into Shiva, which is the beginning of consolation, right? Our friends and family surround us and help us through this period of grief, right? So there's the first stage, the first rung of the ladder is just pure, raw, overwhelming grief. And the second rung of the ladder is actually burying the body. And the third rung is Shiva. The fourth rung is Shloshim, that month where there's still practices of mourning, but it's a little less intense. And then from the 30 days, we go to the year, right? That's the last rung of the ladder, right? After that anniversary, the first anniversary of death. Not that we, God forbid, forget the person that we're mourning, but we move forward into regular life. We can go back to movies and hearing music and, whatever pleasures we had, during the year before we lost this person. And so too with national grief, right? These seven, again, this ladder that's extended to us, this seven-rung ladder, while we're in the depths of despair and climbing out, and ultimately landing at Rosh Hashanah, which is a time of rebirth. But it's interesting. Judaism, I think, does even better than that, even better than these practices of mourning. Because even though we lost the temple, we lost two temples, and we mourn those temples, and Judaism is utterly transformed because it's moved back past a temple-based tradition. What the rabbis did is they said, you can't come to God with sacrifices in your hand. You can't come with animals and wine and libations of water and grain offerings and first fruits. But what can you offer? You can offer your words in prayer. You can offer your very hearts to God. So we've lost the physical temple, but Judaism gives us the essence of what it means to stand close to God at our best, right? In that moment of intimacy, especially with the Amidah, right? We are to stand before God as if we're in Beit HaMikdash, as if we're in the Holy Temple. So they take what we've lost and they transmute it into a non-physical entity, and we still then have what we lost, so to speak. This is a kind of process of alchemy. The process goes beyond memory. It gives us access to what we've lost on the physical plane and returns it to us on the spiritual plane. Rabbi Adin Steinsaltz, who died almost a year ago, great rabbi and Talmud scholar and translator of the Talmud, wrote in his book, Simple Words, Because we can touch it, the material world is real. In a different way, we are also participants in another non-material world. This abstract, non-tangible world is certainly not in the same category of reality, right? I can't touch love. Yet I can't physically touch love. Yet it is no less real. Just as we inhabit the material world, we also exist in a spiritual world. When my son was about 4 years old, I remember he used to talk to angels and spirits, and he literally saw something I didn't, right? Which I kind of believe sometimes may have actually been there, but I'm not sure. Which finally brings us, I know you've been waiting for this moment, to our parsha, Vaetchanan. And in this parsha is Judaism's kind of essential theological formula of the Shema. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. And it's a statement, but the rabbis turned it into prayer. Right? It's Judaism's assertion of oneness, of unity. Listen, Israel, God is our Lord. God is one. So who cares if God is one? Why is that important? Why do we say this twice a day? Why do we think about why are these words so essential? The Shema, I believe, expresses a deep truth about oneness, about the inextricable unity of all, the indivisibility of God from the great multiplicity that is our world. Maybe it allows us to tap into what our souls knew from the very beginning. But something that we all too easily forget, that we are intimately bound up with the world and with God. And that all of it, this endless miracle, and sometimes what feels like a great catastrophe, is one, not two, not dual. Marcia Falk, the feminist poet and liturgist, rewrote the words of the Shema so that this truth becomes apparent. She says, here's the Hebrew, Shema Yisrael, alfei panim, melo olam shchinata, ribui panecha echad. Hear, O Israel, divinity has thousands of faces. The fullness of the world is its presence. The multiplicity of its faces are one. If you think about it, maybe we close our eyes. Actually, this is not original. Maybe we close our eyes for the Shema because we forget when looking at the dizzying array of multiplicity in the world that it is one tapestry, that it is one harmony, that it is endless one dance. Right? We forget that. So we close our eyes and we say these words and we remember unity. Okay, but what does this all have to do with Leo in the pit? That's really the question. And Rabbi Nachman of Bratslav, the great Hasidic master who lived in Eastern Europe, Poland, Russia, I don't know, it changed a lot at that time, 18th and 19th century, offers wisdom about this consciousness that is really, I think, practical, that can really actually help us when we're in the pit. In the book of Deuteronomy in chapter 31, not our parsha, later on, God says, "V'anochi haster astir panai b'yom hahu," and I will hide my face. Yes, hide on that day. As in punishment, right? You guys are going to suffer. You haven't listened to me. You've disconnected from me. You are going to suffer, and I'm going to hide my face. You're not going to enjoy our relationship, and in fact, you're going to, in a sense, be abandoned by me on one level. But here are Rabbi Nachman's words based on that verse. Abba Bashamayim, our Father in heaven says to us, Anochi astir panai b'yom hahu. I will conceal children. I will conceal myself on that day. Aval, but, Rabbi Nachman says, Rabbi Nachman Omer, va'afilu b'hastara, even in hiddenness, even in concealment, shebetoch hastara, even in hiddenness that is inside the hiddenness, so hidden, So hidden is God. Bivadai, of course. Gam sham nimsa Hashem yitbarach. Even there, God, the Blessed One, is found. I want to just take a step back for a moment. I know I might have lost some of you because you might not relate to this God concept. But for the moment, I will say to you, first of all, that anyone who says to me, I don't believe in God, and a lot of people say that to me when they find out I'm a rabbi, I often say the same God you don't believe in, I don't believe in. But for the moment, maybe God is the one who holds us in love. Or maybe God is the one who listens to us when no one else does. Maybe God is the unity in this crazy world that we can't make sense of. So now that I got the theological problems out of the way, back to Rabbi Nachman, who says, Gam acharei hadvarim hakashim ha'orim alecha ani omed. And God says, I stand behind the difficult and painful things that happen to you. I stand. While you're in the pit, I stand. I'm with you. When you're at the bottom of despair, when you're in complete depression and you can't get out of bed, there's a bigger consciousness that you're not aware of, because I know I'm not aware of it. But maybe if we just remember, that will bring that little source of light into those terribly, terribly sad moments. May we all be blessed to know in these 7 weeks of consolation, as we enter the month of Elul, the month of love, that the divine embrace is with us, that we're held, even in the depths of the pit.